Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here this afternoon. I'm joined by our Chief of Police, Chief Durham, and also we're joined by Ellen Robertson, Councilwoman for this district. We see persons who are from the Richmond Redevelopment and Housing Authority. And so this is a joint and concerted effort because we recognize that these problems cannot be solved by one agency, but it takes all of us to work together. Over the last several weeks, there have been several shootings that have resulted in injuries and even some deaths. On last Thursday alone, there were 5 persons injured and 2 of them fatally. And when we talk about incidents like this, it clouds the vision. And even though the statistics say that we are down in crime, which is true, we're down in property crimes, all of these statistics have a downward trend. When we have weekends and weeks like we have been having recently, it doesn't feel like it. And so we're here today to say that we believe that it's time for us to say that we don't want any of these senseless murders, no matter what the statistics say. And I know that there's going to be a Stop the Violence rally planned later today. And let me say that I commend those who are involved and who have planned that rally, because all voices need to be heard on a matter such as this. I also want to thank our police chief and the men and women of our police force for the hard work that they do. And the chief is going to be talking to you about the outcomes of some of that hard work that gives us hope even in situations like this. They are often on the scene of these incidents less than a minute after the incidents happen. I know the chief is at all of these incidents, and that he calls me no matter what time it is, in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day. And so our hats are off to the men and women of the Richmond Police Department for the fine job that they are doing. We believe that community policing is the foundation that will allow the chief to make some of the comments that he's going to make in just a moment. But I want to be clear in saying that these are not just police issues. These are community issues. And I'm here today to say that we as members of the community have got to rise up against this type of behavior. And I've said it before, and I want to say it again to the persons who have the opportunity to see these clips, that if you see something, you need to say something. We need to combat this thing together. I can't stress enough the importance of community involvement and participation and taking a stand against criminal activity in our communities. We've got to come to the point where we say we're just not going to have it in our community anymore. Unfortunately, when it comes to crime and criminal activity, there's no instant panacea, but we can work together to address crime on all fronts. One of the reasons that I focus so heavily, and along with Councilwoman Robertson, on poverty mitigation and economic development strategies for our city, is because I know that crime is in a large part inextricably a symptom of poverty. And our city is paying a heavy economic and social price for cramming poor people into concentrated areas. It's my job and it's our job as leaders to direct our community life in ways that will create quality of life for everyone, not just for some. And so we got to start right here. We've got to begin right now. We can be proactive. We can turn the stem of criminal activity around when we recognize and allow the criminal element to know that they will be caught and that there are people watching them. Very pleased with what the police chief is going to say in just a moment, and very pleased with the work that they are doing, and very pleased with the level of involvement that we have from the community thus far. We can only ask that it will increase. We can only ask that people will allow us to know what you know, so that the criminals will know that if you do a crime, you're going to get caught, you're going to jail, because we're not going to have it in the city of Richmond. And so with that, I bring you the chief of our police department, Chief Durham.
Good evening. Good afternoon. First of all, the members of the Richmond Police Department would like to express our condolences to all victims of homicide, to their families. It's important to recognize that while we are experiencing a significant decrease in violent crimes all across the city, violent crime is still a major, serious issue in public housing communities. What I must make perfectly clear here today is that public safety is a shared responsibility. Every resident of this city has a role in helping your police department to reduce crime, the fear of crime, and to keep your neighborhoods crime-free. To date, as the mayor has stated, even though crime is down, that means nothing to those citizens from our communities who have been victimized. Year to date, there has been 8 homicides in the city of Richmond compared to 18 in 2014. This is a 56% reduction. Again, 8 homicides is 8 too many. 6 of those victims in 2015 have been male, 2 of those are females. Right now, we have cleared 4 of those homicides. We still have 4 open. As you know, last Thursday, we experienced a rash of shooting incidents across the city. We had 8 victims, 3 different locations. One of those shootings occurred right here in the very spot that I'm standing. Our victim, Rakeen Atkins. At about 10:18 p.m. on Thursday, May 7th, our officers responded to the 1900 block of Red Street for a person shot. When they arrived, they located our victim, Mr. Rakeen D. Atkins. He was on the sidewalk, suffering from gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead here on the scene. While at the scene, we received additional information that we had another victim in the 1300 block of Coulter Street who sustained a gunshot wound to the leg. That individual was transported to a local hospital and treated. Non-life-threatening wounds. We additionally received information there was a third victim from this location. He was transported to the hospital by family members, and he has sustained gunshot wounds to his back. He is still in the hospital and listed in critical but stable condition. I'm here to tell you that today, to announce that we have made an arrest in Mr. Atkins' murder. We have 2 individuals that were charged. On May 8th, we arrested a Mr. Dominique Walker. Mr. Walker was one of the victims that were shot in the back here on this scene. On yesterday, a Mr. Milvan Witcher was arrested. Both of these individuals have been charged with conspiracy to commit murder. On the same day last Thursday, earlier that afternoon, about a little after 3 p.m., in the 6500 block of Midlothian Turnpike, our officers responded to the scene and found another victim that was shot, Mr. Sylvester T. Nichols, in front of the Family Dollar store. He was transported to a local hospital where he had succumbed to his injuries. Witnesses at that scene observed a black male dressed in all red approach our victim and shoot him, and he was last seen running towards Carnation Street. We do not believe that this incident was a random act. Again, we have information. We've been receiving tips from the community that a black male wearing a red shirt with red shorts was armed with a handgun. That case is still open, and we are actively investigating that. Our homicides closed by arrest. On Saturday, February 7th at about 1:58 a.m., our officers responded to 3015 Jefferson Davis Highway. This was the city motel. There we found our victim, Miss Lynette F. Gregory. She was shot and unresponsive. She was also pronounced on the scene. We had witnesses in that case, and that's very important, and I'll just talk about that later, our witnesses. They gave a description of the suspect and the vehicle that that individual was driving. We eventually, through the hard work of investigators by our major crimes detectives, we identified 2 suspects, Mr. David Creer and Mr. Wayne Martin. Both of those individuals were arrested that same day, and they were charged with first-degree murder with the use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. Our third homicide for the year was Miss Pamela Ann Knazer. This incident happened on Saturday, March 14th, at about a little after 5 p.m. at 6101 Jank Road. Our officers responded there on that day. It was an Exxon gas station. When they arrived, they located the victim. She was suffering from a gunshot wound. She was transported to a local hospital where she succumbed to her injuries. Several people were arrested in that incident, but one in particular, Brandon Jackson. He was indicted on 4 counts. Use of a firearm in a public place, use of the firearm commission in a felony, and a felon with a firearm. That case was closed. Our 4th homicide for the year occurred on Sunday, March 15th at about 2:48 a.m. And that was at 1333 Coulter Street, just down the street here. On that day, officers responded for a person lying in the stairwell with a head injury. When they arrived, they located the victim, Mr. Frizzell A. Belton. He was on the 1st floor landing. The victim was transported to a local hospital where he died the next day from his injuries. During that canvassing, witnesses came forward with information. A suspect, later identified as Dean E. Jackson, was arrested for manslaughter. Those are the 4 cases that have been closed by the hard work of the men and women of the Richmond Police Department. But most importantly, we have community engagement and involvement now. We are receiving so many tips from these homicides, and it's very important. What that tells me as the chief of police, that there is a sense of trust now. There's a trust of urgency, a sense of people don't want to tolerate this violence no more in their communities. And that's very important. We do have 4 cases that are pending, and we're still seeking the public's help in helping us solve these murders to bring these cases to a closure for the victims' families. On Tuesday, January 27th, at about 5:25 p.m. in the 2000 block of Fopp Street, our victim, Mr. Walter M. Robertson, was found. They responded to the scene, and when they arrived, they located our victim. He was on the sidewalk, suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. He was transported to a hospital. He remained unconscious until his death on January the 31st. Witnesses stated that they saw him leaning into a gold or tan-colored SUV. He stepped back from that vehicle and he was fired upon. Again, we're asking the public's help with any information in this case to contact Crime Solvers at 780-1000. Homicide number 5, which is still unsolved. Our victim, Mr. David L. Briggs, he was located about 1:30 p.m. on Sunday, March 29th, when the officers responded to the 2100 block of Bradford Road. They located our victim on the side of a vacant house. He had been shot multiple times. Again, witnesses reported seeing the victim walk up to 2 males sitting on a parked vehicle. The victim walked to the side of the house, and then they heard gunshots. They saw a dark-colored gray Malibu or Chevy Impala leaving the area. And again, any information that the public can help us with would definitely be greatly appreciated. And our last open homicide is number 6. Our victim is Mr. Roland Anguru. This happened in the 600 block of East Brooklyn Park Boulevard on Sunday, April 19th. Just after midnight, our officers were called to this location for a shooting. They located our victim, who was laying on the ground. Inside the home. He was inside the home. What they saying, again, witnesses stated that they observed a white 4-door mid-sized vehicle slowly drive past the residence, turn around, and then saw a group of males firing in the victim's direction. This case is still open. We're asking for the community help. I can't stress enough, just as the mayor has stated, it's very important that we have community to assist us in this. I get tired of coming to scenes, and I know my investigators and officers coming to see the violence, folks being murdered, killed in the city, in their communities. This violence has to stop. And I said, as I said last week, if you continue to do what you're going to do, you're going to get what you get. You can only run for so long. Folks are turning you in. It's unacceptable, and again, you will be caught. One other thing I want to touch on, the last incident on last Thursday, the individual that was the victim of an aggravated assault in the 3900 block of Stockton. That's Mr. David Twyman. He was shot multiple times. All we know, there was a group of individuals in the alley, and they ended up trying to identify a tan and golden color Ford Explorer. Anyone having information in reference to this shooting, again, we're asking for your help. We need your help. We cannot do this alone. We work for you. I have a small force, but we have a large community out here. Think about the strength in numbers. So again, I thank you for this, and hopefully we have brought some closure to this family right now. This investigation that happened here in reference to Mr. Atkins is still ongoing. We still have to figure out what the motive was. There's still folks to be interviewed. But again, the community here has been great, and I think they're sending a message. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions?
I do have a question for the chief. With the, you mentioned the community stepping forward and giving you information, but over the course of all of this, have you stepped up extra patrols in areas like this? And what do you have to the community about that?
Yes, we have a an outstanding lieutenant here now. He's really focusing in the community. If you notice, after every homicide that we experience, and hopefully no more, but the past homicides, I've established a 48-hour plan. What that is we're bringing the command post out here. I witnessed on one of the crime scenes that I was on is that we come, we're responsive, we interview, we canvass the neighborhoods, our forensics, our detectives do their job, then we take the yellow tape down and we leave. There are folks out there that want to talk to us. So by having that command post and officers in the community 48 hours, that's how we get information. It's not that we pack up and leave, but we stay for a couple of days because there's someone at 2 o'clock in the morning that may want to come out and reach out to one of our officers and provide us some information. So that's what we do. One of the things, in speaking about communities, we're coming up with a summer plan. We're in the preparation now of identifying those areas, the resources, and we're committed. We know where the crime is going to happen. We know we have to be there and put the resources there, and that's what my staff and I are working on right now.
I have a question for the mayor. In regards to everything that's going on, some people would say that crime is, Richmond may not be a safe city. What do you say to people, in particular those that are coming in for the Richmond 2015, to convince them that maybe Richmond is safe despite what they're hearing?
Well, once again, you have to be reminded that our statistics are way down. This time last year we had 18 homicides. This year we have 8. And so crime is on the decline in the city of Richmond. And so that's the message we want to send, that crime is on the decline. But our message for our city is that any one homicide is one too many. And that if we pull together, we can make our numbers go even further down. But for persons who want to come to our city, they can come here with the confidence that our men and women of the Richmond Police Department are going to make sure that they're safe.
If I may add, Mr. Mayor, as he talk about crime being down, today we're experiencing a 17% reduction in violent crime. We're talking about our homicides, rapes, robberies, and aggravated assaults, and 11% in aggravated assaults. Those are where someone's harmed, shootings or stabbings. So I'm telling you, we are doing a great job, and I think it's because of the community also. Folks are tired of, folks are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So that's why I think it's very important that we continue to say, and we have to taunt it when we can, because when numbers are up, folks are really critical of the police department. We need to tell folks now, this city is really safe. We have these incidents, but communities, I can't impress upon you enough. Communities like this Mosby Court has to come together. They have to stand up. People are only going to do in your community what you allow them to do.
And so the takeaway from today is the four homicides that have not been solved. We need for the community to step up on those. And so we've given you those names and the information about those, and we would deeply appreciate media helping us to get the word out so that people will come forth knowing that these crimes have not been solved. And we need for people to step up for these 4 homicides that have not been solved. Thank you very much. Shelby?
Can I ask Councilman Robertson a question? So earlier today we were out here just talking to some folks. We heard the mayor talking about to address the issue about crime, and talk about poverty too. And one of the things that we heard that we talked about earlier is that just if you think about this community alone, somebody pointed out to me that basketball hoop right there is just pretty much all they have to do in this community. What do you see as a solution to that, and just resources for kids so that they have things to do other than get involved and become that part of that criminal element?
That's a very true statement, and I've had an extensive conversation with TK Samanoff, who's also here from the Richmond Redevelopment Housing Authority, which is the agency that is the manager of the housing community here. And we are aggressively looking at what amenities that are here within the community to support the community. We are also looking at the better use of the facilities that are available for the community to come together and to strengthen the fabric of the civic engagement in the community. And as the mayor said, as a part of our anti-poverty initiative, we have increased the level of staffing that is within the community to have ongoing conversation and dialogue with residents to better understand what their needs are, so that through the poverty initiative and many other initiatives that all come together, that we can provide the additional support and services that are needed. But at the end of the day, this type of behavior does not build community, and we have to be very tough on crime. We cannot tolerate that. The community has got to continue to speak up and to let us know. I mean, I want to commend our chief of police today for the detailed information that he's given us, what kind of car we saw, what they were wearing. So the voice of the community to be engaged and to not tolerate this type of crime or any crime in our community, and to come forward and make those things known so that we can collectively work together along with the housing authority in providing decent, affordable housing for people to live in with amenities, but not tolerating this type of crime that actually destroys our community.
I've got a question for Mayor Jones. Mayor, you had said something along the lines of the city is paying a heavy price for cramming poor people into certain areas of the city. Can you elaborate? I mean, has the city done something wrong? Should there be changes that should be made going forward?
This is a problem that is systemic. It was not right 50 years ago to pack poor people into the same areas, and it's wrong today. And so what Ellen Robertson has talked about are some short-term solutions, and we're committed to those short-term solutions. But long-term solutions are that we have got to deconcentrate poverty. We cannot have all poor people lumped into one area on one side of the bridge, and everybody on the other side of the bridge is safe and happy. And so the long-term solution is the deconcentration of poverty. It may not happen overnight, but long-term, that's what's got to happen, because we know basically where crimes are going to take place.
I know you can't get into every detail of it, but can you give us some, I guess, some summaries of some of the things that can be done to deconcentrate poverty?
Well, you can look on our website and see our Office on Community Wealth Building and see all of the steps that we're taking. There are 5 pieces to it. It's education, transportation, housing, affordable housing, education. Well, there's a 5th one. I can't.
Early childhood.
Early childhood education, in addition to education. Those are the 3 prongs of our attack and strategy on poverty. We have a person now who is dedicated to making sure that this is not something that is hot today and cold tomorrow, and we're going to fix it so that it's codified, so that whoever's in office, they will not be able to walk away from this, because that is one of the biggest problems that we face in the city of Richmond. Thank you so much for being here today.